In the previous canto, Savitri discovered her individual soul and united with her origin and underwent what in Aurobindo's yoga we call the psychic transformation of the whole consciousness and nature. And in that brought about a great state of happiness and release and confidence. And we were shown how now when she thinks of Satyavan or looks at Satyavan, she sees him not with this dark threat of death around his head, but the promise, a kind of golden halo promising a long and fulfilled life. But in that happy state, one day, as she is meditating, she's overwhelmed by a black wave of dread, of threatening darkness and fear. The source of it seems to be a being or a force which claims that all life is illusory and only death is real. And this is so powerful that it leaves her whole inner being as if waste after a tornado or a cyclone. But then there comes a greater voice from above telling her that you don't have to expose your happy state to this enemy. But now you are here for a purpose. It's not just that you can have a happy liberation for yourself. You are here to do something for the whole of humanity. And in order to do that, your consciousness has to become so wide that it can embrace the whole universe, carry the whole universe within itself. And in order to achieve that, she's told that she has to silence the mind completely. So following that guidance, that's what we have been seeing. That she starts by observing all the movements of her nature. And particularly, first of all, the many births of thought, the way that thoughts come up in us and where they come from. And having described that, Sri Aurobindo tells us that she sees that the thought comes from all over the place, different parts of our body, from outside, other people's thoughts, from above, from below. Thoughts are coming all the time. And in addition, we in our surface minds are manufacturing thoughts. But those thoughts are not born, they are made. And the only real thoughts are the thoughts that come to us, that are born from somewhere. And he spoke about the genius. Well, that all of us, our tasks are given, but this is especially so of the genius who receives his gifts and his task is to spoil them as little as possible, to transmit them as perfectly as possible. And then we had read a short transitional passage about the ego. Our human ego claims the world for our use. But in fact, a human being is like a machine through which the universal forces get their work done. This is, as long as we are in our nature being, we become the slave of nature until she herself sets us free. Nature wants us eventually to become free. Or we may become the slave of God. And we can become the slave of God because the deeper truth of our being lies behind. Although we live mostly in this little surface mind, within us we have access to a universal consciousness. But in order to access that, we have to break through this, what he calls the wall of matter, as if we are imprisoned in our perceptions of this material world. So we can enter that spiritual vastness when we become masters of our world, and mind is only a means and body a tool. For above the birth of body and of thought, our spirit's truth lives in the naked self, and from that height, unbound, free, surveys the world. So Savitri realizes this, and so she sets herself to rise out of the mind. That is the next passage which we are going to read now. I will read about a page and a half, and then we'll go back to the beginning and look at each sentence in detail. Out of the mind she rose to escape its law, that it might sleep in some deep shadow of self, or fall silent in the silence of the unseen. High she attained, and stood from nature free, and saw creation's life from far above. Thence, upon all, she laid her sovereign will to dedicate it to God's timeless calm. Then all grew tranquil in her being's space. Only sometimes small thoughts arose and fell like quiet waves upon a silent sea, or ripples passing over a lonely pool when a stray stone disturbs its dreaming rest. Yet the mind's factory had ceased to work. There was no sound of the dynamo's throb. There came no call from the still fields of life. Then even those stirrings rose in her no more. Her mind now seemed like a vast empty room, or like a peaceful landscape without sound. This men call quietude and prize as peace. But to her deeper sight, all yet was there, effervescing like a chaos under a lid. Feelings and thoughts cried out for word and act, but found no response in the silenced brain. All was suppressed, but nothing yet expunged. At every moment might explosion come. Then this too paused. The body seemed a stone. All now was a wide, mighty vacancy, but still excluded from eternity's hush. For still was far the repose of the Absolute and the ocean silence of infinity. Even now, some thoughts could cross her solitude. These surged not from the depths or from within, cast up from formlessness to seek a form, spoke not the body's need, nor voiced life's call. These seemed not born, nor made in human time, children of cosmic nature from a far world, ideas, shapes in complete armor of words, posted like travelers in an alien space. Out of some far expanse they seemed to come, as if carried on vast wings like large white sails, and with easy access reached the inner ear, as though they used a natural privileged right to the high royal entries of the soul. As yet their path lay deep concealed in light. Then, looking to know whence the intruders came, she saw a spiritual immensity, pervading and encompassing the world space, as ether our transparent, tangible air, and through it sailing tranquilly a thought, as smoothly glides a ship nearing its port, ignorant of embargo and blockade, confident of entrance and the visa's seal. It came to the silent city of the brain, towards its accustomed and expectant key, but met a barring will, a blow of force, and sank, vanishing in the immensity. After a long, vacant pause, another appeared. and others, one by one, suddenly emerged. Minds, unexpected visitors from the unseen, like far-off sails upon a lonely sea. But soon that commerce failed. None reached mind's coast. Then all grew still. Nothing moved anymore. Immobile, self-wrapped, timeless, solitary, a silent spirit pervaded silent space. You can read.
Out of the mind, she rose to escape its law, that it might sleep in some deep shadow of self, or fall silent in the silence of the unseen.
Yes. So this is Savitri. With her will, she's raising up her consciousness out of the mind, upwards. She wants to escape from the law of mind and to allow the mind to fall asleep, as if it would sleep in some deep shadow of herself, her true being, or maybe fall completely silent in the silence of the unseen. This unseen with a capital U. It is what cannot be reached by consciousness. It's beyond seeing, even the subtle seeing.
High she attained and stood from nature free, and saw creation's light from far above. Thence upon all she laid her sovereign will, to dedicate it to God's timeless calm.
We'll pause there. So she succeeds in rising very high, to attain. It means to reach. High she attained. And she stands free from universal nature. And she views the life of the whole creation, the manifestation, from above. And from that high station above the mind, she gives a command of the will. Thence means from there. On everything, on her whole being, she lays this sovereign will, the will of the ruler, and dedicates the whole being to God's timeless calm. She wants the whole being to be ruled by that timeless, it's from beyond manifestation, calm and quietness. When we dedicate something, we offer it for a specific purpose.
Then all grew tranquil in her being space. Only sometimes small thoughts arose and fell, like quiet waves upon a silent sea, or rivers passing over a lonely pool, when a straight stone disturbs its dreaming rest.
It's a lovely picture, no? That the whole being becomes tranquil, full of peace, quietness, in everything that she feels to be herself, her being space. Only sometimes there are just small thoughts that come and go. It's like the movement of quiet waves on a very, very calm, silent sea. Or he gives the image of a lonely pool in a forest or a very peaceful place. If a stone happens to fall into it and then the ripples come. A stray stone disturbs the dreaming rest of that pool of water. There's little ripples. Gomsun.
Yet the mind's factory had ceased to work. There was no sound of the dynamo's throb.
Yes.
There came no call from the still fields of life.
Yes. So a dynamo, it is an engine which is working, to create electricity, to create energy, and it makes a noise, that noise that a generator makes. He had said the mind is like that, or that the whole human nature is like that. It's an engine, a machinery. But that's all become quiet. There's no sound of that throb. Our heartbeat is a throb, but also machinery has that regular kind of beat. And so this is all silent because this factory of the mind has stopped work. Everybody's gone on holiday. There's nothing. And there's no call from the still fields of life. The whole life being has also become very, very peaceful. It's not making any demands or reminders. Usually when we sit and try to silence the mind, all these reminders come up from the fields of life. But she's dedicated the whole being to God's calm, and she's done it not with her mental will, but with the higher will. So everything has obeyed. You'll read?
Then even those children's close enough, no more. The mind now seems like a vast empty world, or like a peaceful landscape without sound.
Thank you. So then even those ripples, those small stirrings, they didn't rise up anymore. No? So now her mind seems to have become a vast, empty room. Perhaps like the chamber in Matrimandir, silent, empty, no? Or like a peaceful landscape with no sound. A wide, empty, silent space. Ganga Lakshmi?
This man God created and prides as peace. But to her deeper side, all yet was there. If everything like a cow's under a leaf.
Let's pause there. Yeah. So it's become like this vast empty room, peaceful landscape. So this is something that human beings prize, this quietude, this peace, when there's no anxiety, no demands, no desires. Prize. If you prize something, it means you value it very much. Quietude. But to Savitri's deeper sight, she can see within herself that everything is still there. It's all bubbling away, like soda when you shake the bottle. Like a chaos under a lid. It's being pressed down. It can't come out and express itself, but it's there, bubbling away. Will you read? Effervescing. That's what fizzy drinks do. They bubble. Yeah. Yes.
Feelings and thoughts cried out for word and act, but found no response in the silenced brain. All was suppressed, but nothing yet expunged. At every moment might explosion come.
Yeah, thank you. So what is bubbling away there? It's the feelings, it's the thoughts. They want to be expressed, but they are not allowed because she has imposed this silence. No? They can't find any response in the silenced brain. There's nothing that's responding to that bubbling. But she sees that everything has only been suppressed. It's been pressed down. It hasn't been got rid of, expunged. When you expunge something, you just wipe it out. It doesn't exist anymore. Everything was still there, bubbling away. So at every moment, that explosion might come. If her will loosened its hold a little bit, everything would come out. Sergei?
And these two poles, the body seemed a stone, all now with the light mighty wings, but still excluded from the eternity's hush. For still was far the repose of the absolute, and the ocean silence of infinity.
Yes. So even that effervescing stopped, that fizzing and bubbling. This pauses. So the body, the whole being seems like a stone, absolutely still and unmoving. And everything in her awareness now seems like a vast, wide, powerful emptiness, vacancy. And yet she's aware that this is not the silence of eternity and infinity. This is not the silence beyond manifestation. The repose, the rest and silence of the Absolute is still far away. And so is this ocean silence of infinity. A silence that seems to have no horizon, no end to it. The silence of infinity. Suresh?
Even now some thoughts would trust her solitude. Peace said not from the depth or from within. Caused up from formlessness to seek their form. Spoke not the body, made nor voice, life's call.
Yes. So some different thoughts are coming. Thoughts of a different kind. These are not coming up from the depths, the deep layers of consciousness. They're not coming from within herself. It's not as if they're being cast up. This is what the sea does. It's carrying things, bits of wood or seaweed, and it casts them up on the shore These thoughts are not coming like that out of the ocean of formlessness to look for a form. No? Beyond this manifestation of forms, there's an ocean of formlessness from which the forms come. No? And these thoughts are not speaking about the need of the body or the calls and desires of the life. These are a different kind of thoughts. Sarojini, you want to read?
Yes.
Yes. Come.
This seems not born nor
Made.
made in human time. The children of costume nature from a far off. Ideas so
Shapes.
in complete arrangement of words. Posted like travelers in an alone space.
Yes. So these thoughts, these other kind of thoughts, don't seem to be born. She had observed the many births of thought. No? And then Sri Aurobindo said that there are thoughts that are not born, they are made, manufactured by the brain. So these are not born, and these are not made in human time. These thoughts that come, they seem to be children of cosmic nature, of universal nature, from another world, a far world, a very distant world, not the world that we know. And they come in the form of completely formed ideas, not just thoughts, but creative ideas, already armed. They're already wearing their protection of words, their complete form, ready-made. And they come posting. It means coming like travelers. In the old days when people rode by horseback, this is called posting, traveling quickly. No? They come like travelers. And they seem to be traveling in an alien space, a different kind of space that doesn't belong to our universe, something strange. He'll say something more about this space a few lines further down. Of course, this word idea here has a capital letter because it's at the beginning of the line. But I think that even if it were not at the beginning of the line, it would have a capital letter. Sri Aurobindo uses this word, the idea, the real form, creative form of things that precedes manifestation. Helen?
Out of some far expanse they seem to come, as if carried on lost wings like large white sails, and with easy access reach the inner ear, as sought they use a natural track to the high throb entries of the soul.
Yes. So they come from this different space, this alien space, some far away expanse. They seem to come, she sees them coming. It's as if they are coming like birds with vast wings or sails. Later on he takes up this idea of the sailing ship, large white sails. And it seems as if they come just easily, automatically, not to the physical ear, to the inner ear, the deep inner ear of the mind. And he says it's as if they used a natural, privileged right to the high royal entries of the soul. As if the soul keeps certain doors open to beings from that other world, royal entries. No? And these thoughts that come, they have that privilege. A privilege is some right that you have that not everybody has, that is yours specially. So royal people, VIPs, they may enjoy privileges that the rest of us don't have, and we have to go around to the tradesman's entrance, but they can go in through the front door. But so it's as if the soul keeps some doors open for special guests. Just naturally they come there. Mathilde?
As yet, their paths lay deep concealed reality. Then, looking to know whence the intruders came, she saw a spiritual immensity, pervading and encompassing the world space, as ether, our transparent, tangible air, and through it sailing tranquilly upward.
Yes. So at first she can't see where they come from. Their path is hidden in light. Things are often hidden in darkness, but in this case the light is so strong and bright, she can't see where their path is coming from. But then when she concentrates to look where they are coming from, these intruders, these people who are coming in unexpectedly, uninvited, she sees that around our world space, the space of our universe, there's another space, a spiritual space, a spiritual immensity, a vast, limitless space, which is encompassing, surrounding and including our space, but also pervading our space. Pervading means that it penetrates through, it can mingle with, pass through our space. Pervading is a word that we use about perfume. If you have a beautiful bottle of perfume open somewhere, the fragrance will spread out of the bottle through the air and it will pervade the whole atmosphere. So it's as if this spiritual immensity is passing through, filling, letting itself fill the spaces in our space, our world space. And he says that this is the way in which ether pervades and encompasses our air, our transparent, tangible air that we can feel. We feel when there's a little breeze or a wind, we can feel it. Our physicists have proved to their own satisfaction that there's no such thing as ether. The ancients used to believe that there are 5 elements, elemental forms of matter. There's earth, and there's water, and there's fire, and there's air, and the subtlest and finest of them is ether. So in the 19th century, the physicists tried to measure, and they proved to themselves that ether doesn't exist. But something like that, what in Sanskrit is called akash, this ether, Aurobindo refers to it again and again in this poem, and perhaps one day even our physicists will find that there is some supremely subtle substance like that, you know, which is encompassing and pervading, filtering through our transparent, tangible air. And on that etheric space, these thoughts come sailing, like sailing boats, peacefully, tranquilly, not making any fuss or noise. You read, Bhavana?
As smoothly glides a ship nearing its port, ignorant of embargo and blockade, confident of entrance and the visors sea, it came to the silent city of the brain, towards its accustomed and expectant key, but met a body will, a blow of force, and sank vanishing in the immensity.
Yes. So this is an image, of course, but this is an image for the way that she perceives these special thoughts coming. Usually they have a natural privileged right and they just enter. But here they are. Here's one of them coming smoothly on this silent sea, coming near to its port, its usual port. It doesn't know that there's a blockade, that there's an embargo, that nothing is allowed to enter this port anymore. It's quite sure that it will be able to enter, and all its papers are in order. It's got the seal on the visa. So it comes to this silent city of Savitri's brain. And it comes towards its accustomed and expectant key. The key is where the ship can attach itself to the port. There's a provision there for ships to come. So it has a usual place where it always goes. It's accustomed place. And it's as if that key is waiting for it. It's expectant. But as it approaches, it meets this barring will. This will that Savitri has put there, dedicating everything to God's calm. It comes, the ship comes and feels this blow of force. It can't pass. And it sinks, just like a ship that's been attacked, if there's an embargo, if no ships are allowed to enter the port.
After a long vacant pause, another appeared, and other, one by one, suddenly emerged. Nine unexpected visitors from the unseen, like far off sails upon a lonely sea.
Yes. So one ship sinks, one thought is finished. And then after quite a long empty time, another one comes. And then others, one by one. But all of them sink. These are mind's unexpected visitors, coming from beyond the limits of awareness. Like they come like far off sails upon a lonely sea.
But soon that commerce failed, none which might close. Then all grew still, nothing more anymore. Immobile, self-craft, timeless, solitude, a silent spirit, pervaded silent space.
Yes. So after a few of them have been sunk, then they stop coming. Soon that commerce, that trade, the ships, they failed. No more of them reach this coast of mind, this particular port. So then in Savitri, everything grew still. Nothing moved anymore. Immobile. Nothing moves. Self-wrapped. It means concentrated within oneself. Timeless. Without time, beyond time. Solitary, alone. What she's aware of is only a silent spirit, and then again this word pervading, spreading through a silent space. So now we have a little time, we've reached the end of this very special section. So I'm going to tell you that this whole canto is based on Sri Aurobindo's own experience. And for us it's very, very interesting. It corresponds to what he always used to refer to as his first major spiritual experience. And sometimes he called it my nirvana experience. And sometimes he called it the experience of the silent Brahman. So Brahman is a word for the supreme reality, which has a silent form, but also can have a dynamic form. Sri Aurobindo's first major spiritual experience was the experience of the silent Brahman. It came to him in January 1908, when he was right in the middle of his political work, his most dynamic political period, traveling around the country. He'd just been at a huge, very, very significant congress in Surat, but he took a few days off to go back to the city of Baroda, to a friend's house, the city where he had lived for 13 years. And he went there with the special purpose to meet a yogi who was introduced to him by his younger brother, Barin. He wanted to meet a yogi because he had become aware several years before, in 1904, that there is a power in the traditional Indian yoga. He'd been brought up in England, he was an atheist, he was a materialist, he was determined to bring about the freedom of his country. And when he realized, he had an experience, he realized that there is a power in this traditional yoga, then he said, I need that power for the independence movement, for the nationalist movement. And he started to practice pranayama. A friend of his was practicing pranayama, and he started practicing that. And he said, some very, very interesting results. But after 4 years, he hadn't experienced the results that he was hoping for and expecting. And so I don't know how it was that Barin knew this gentleman, Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, but anyway, it was decided that Sri Aurobindo would meet him after the Surat Congress. So they met. Sri Aurobindo explained to Lele that I don't want liberation and moksha and silence and all that. What I want is divine power for the work. And interestingly enough, Lele said to him, it should be easy for you as you are a poet. I don't know what Lele meant, but anyway, that's what he said to him. And so they were given a room upstairs in this house where they wouldn't be disturbed. It seems that they spent 3 days there in this room. And as Aurobindo recounts it, Lele told him that thoughts come to the mind from outside. So when you sit in meditation, you see the thoughts coming, and before they enter your mind, you stop them. So Aurobindo says this was a completely new idea to him, that thoughts came into the mind from outside, but he didn't question it, he just observed it, and he did what he was told. And very, very quickly, he says, actually within 1 day he had the principle, and within 3 days there was this complete silencing. A silent spirit pervaded silent space. So this is an imaged description of the experience that he had. Obviously, in his earlier practice of meditation, he'd already done this business of observing the births of thought and the manufacture of thought and the thought control. He had already done that. So when Lele told him, see the thoughts approaching the mind, stop them, then he was able to do it. And the result was this nirvanic experience, which we will find further described, but we will not go on with it this week. Out of the mind she rose to escape its law, that it might sleep in some deep shadow of self, or fall silent in the silence of the unseen. High she attained, and stood from nature free, and saw creation's life from far above. Thence upon all she laid her sovereign will, to dedicate it to God's timeless calm. Then all grew tranquil in her being's space. Only sometimes small thoughts arose and fell like quiet waves upon a silent sea, or ripples passing over a lonely pool when a stray stone disturbs its dreaming rest. Yet the mind's factory had ceased to work. There was no sound of the dynamo's throb. There came no call from the still fields of life. Then even those stirrings rose in her no more. Her mind now seemed like a vast empty room, or like a peaceful landscape without sound. This men call quietude and prize as peace. But to her deeper sight, all yet was there, effervescing like a chaos under a lid. Feelings and thoughts cried out for word and act, but found no response in the silenced brain. All was suppressed, but nothing yet expunged. At every moment might explosion come. Then this too paused. The body seemed a stone. All now was a wide, mighty vacancy, but still excluded from eternity's hush. For still was far the repose of the Absolute, and the ocean silence of infinity. Even now some thoughts could cross her solitude. These surged not from the depths, or from within, cast up from formlessness to seek a form, spoke not the body's need, nor voiced life's call. These seemed not born, nor made in human time. Children of cosmic nature from a far world, ideas, shapes, in complete armor of words, posted like travelers in an alien space. Out of some far expanse they seemed to come, as if carried on vast wings like large white sails, and with easy access reached the inner ear, as though they used a natural privileged right to the high royal entries of the soul. As yet their path lay deep concealed in light. Then, looking to know whence the intruders came, she saw a spiritual immensity, pervading and encompassing the world space, as ether our transparent, tangible air, and through it sailing tranquilly a thought. As smoothly glides a ship nearing its port, ignorant of embargo and blockade, confident of entrance and the visa's seal, it came to the silent city of the brain, towards its accustomed and expectant key, but met a barring will, a blow of force, and sank, vanishing in the immensity. After a long, vacant pause, another appeared, and others one by one suddenly emerged, minds unexpected visitors from the unseen, like far-off sails upon a lonely sea. But soon that commerce failed. none reached mind's coast. Then all grew still. Nothing moved any more. Immobile, self-wrapped, timeless, solitary, a silent spirit pervaded silent space.